And then a number of black men chimed into the conversation, right? But this conversation ain't got shit to do with sports. It ain't got shit to do with ass. It ain't got shit to do with money. It's a quote unquote boring conversation. But the boring conversations is where the growth lies. The boring conversations is where the transformation comes from. The boring conversations is where self-mastery comes from. Because in a number of different ways, you are now engaging in something that does not require constant stimulation. It requires you to sit, to meditate, and to think. It requires you to engage in the self-mastery of conversation. It requires you to engage in the self-mastery of implementation and intentionality. And a number of men do not want to engage with that. A number of black men do not want to engage with that because it is intimidating. It is daunting. A number of black men, I believe, have educational trauma that creates an aversion away from places that would expose them as not being as intelligent as they try to put on.
This conversation has truly been phenomenal, bro. I probably got like 3 more questions for you.
That's
man.
Cool.
Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual discipline, what does that look like for a young black man? Because we got OnlyFans at our disposal nonstop. Even like, bro, my timeline is mainly like Black history, mental health conversations, but then Explore page sometimes randomly, you'll see OnlyFans. And I'm like, bro, I be getting blocked every single time, but it's constantly coming back. And then I'm thinking about a young kid that's 12, 13. Bro, at 12, 13, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We weren't on Twitter like that. So I'm like, yo, I can only imagine being at that young of an age, starting to just itemize women of, hey, she's just for sex. How do we start to practice better sexual discipline? Because I see even in our own age group that dudes be looking at girls only for sex, only to take something rather than this is a human being. So how do we practice better sexual discipline, right?
So if you ask any lay black man how to practice more sexual discipline, they'll tell you stuff like semen retention, abstinence from pornography, X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. And those, I wouldn't say that they're too extreme. I would say that they are skills that you want to use and you want to implement throughout your journey of self-mastery. But the biggest thing is, because once again, like I said, I work at a hospital, a mental health and substance abuse hospital. And what I say to my clients all the time is like, yo, the trigger or the stimulant is never going to go away. Sex is one of the oldest industries in the world. As long as there is pussy and ass, there will be sex. As long as there is sex around, there's going to be somebody who's going to sell it, whether it be the person themselves or somebody else as a mediator, right? The actual definition for the word pander is to make space for or to give access to something that is morally inept or something that is lascivious, right? It is the ancient etymology for the word pimp. Right? So even if we put it into that context, when we talk about pandering, because I saw one of my memories came up on TikTok. Folks been calling me a panderer and a simp since like 2021. So that shit don't bother me, bro. Right? But when I actually looked up the definition, I'm like, oh, y'all think I'm doing this to get pussy. Y'all think I'm doing this to fuck. Y'all think I'm doing all this research. Y'all think I became a therapist. Y'all think I did 3,000 all this goddamn work for some ass? We talk about the power of black women, right? Talk about the power of the pussy, right? You think I'm doing all this just to get some ass? You have to decenter sex as a transaction that identifies that you are somehow masculine. I can go pay somebody for some pussy, right? There was a clip that was doing numbers, and it was these brothers on a podcast, and this brother, and I always knew it. Because once again, motherfuckers try to play us like we not men. Motherfuckers try to play us like we don't be in the same rooms, listening to the same conversations. I hear you talk about it, dickhead, like what you mean you making it? How? I'm a man. I got the same thing between my legs that you do, so that you think that we not sitting in the same rooms having these same conversations, my boy? Stop it. Right? Sexual discipline is the ability to acknowledge that it is there and not take it. Right? I lead a group twice a month for Express Yourself Black Man in a safe haven. It's a psychoeducation group. It's all men. And I asked them brothers, I said, yo, what do you all perceive masculinity to be? And one of the brothers said, sometimes being a man is not about what you do, it's about what you don't do. Right? It's not about having the capacity for violence, but being able to have restraint. Right? Sexual discipline is akin to sexual discernment, right? Because once again, if we think about it in its very biological use, it is for the purpose of reproducing, right? You need to understand the lay of the land that you are attempting to inseminate, because if that land is not fertile, it will not grow anything that is necessary for you. That's number one. Number two, we have more than enough psychological data to understand the risks of overutilization of pornography, right? Porn, sex, gambling, shopping, all of these things. Once again, my bachelor's is in rehabilitation services with a concentration in addictions, right? People think that you can only become addicted to substances. No, you can become addicted to processes. Anything that impacts the reward pathway in your brain and reduces those neurochemicals, you can become addicted to, right? Becoming addicted to pornography allows for you to obtain that dopamine response that usually comes through human interaction, right? But a number of men believe that they are so entitled to women's bodies that why should I have to do all of this work? Once again, why should I have to pander to you when all I want to do with you is fuck? Brother, that's a you problem. You lack sexual discipline because there's a part of you that believes that most of your value is attributed to how many women that you can obtain. There's a scene in Baby Boy that was very interesting. Jody said, the reason why I keep running around here having babies is so that there can be something left of me here when I'm gone. Right? There are a number of black men who have bought into the stereotype of the hypersexualization of black men because that's the only place where in which we are identified with any type of value. And it's easy. It's easy. It is easy to be identified as a sexual god as a black man because you're already predisposed to be looked at that way, right? But what happens when you want to be more than that? What happens when you get into this space and you recognize, damn, I might have fucked some up? What happens when you now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children by 3 different women and now you're complaining that you cannot get anywhere? Brother, you attach these chains to yourself. To have sexual discipline requires discernment. To have that type of discernment requires emotional intelligence. Why do you believe that your value only comes with the amount of women that you fucking? Where does that come from? And do you have, once again, the courage to examine this? If you don't, by all means, brother, do what you do. But doing the manly thing means to be accountable. Accountable is to outcome as responsibility is to duty. If your responsibility, if you believe that as a man, your responsibility is to lack sexual discipline, then you are accountable for the outcomes of your actions. That's on you.
Man, what words of advice, encouragement as well for black athletes who want to be more than just an athlete, especially after sports is done? Because, man, I hate seeing on social media, sometimes where players feel like, yo, I'm useless. I think Lacey, I forgot his first name, but LSU, seeing him once he knew I ain't going to get drafted high, unfortunately unalived himself. And it's like seeing that, I'm like, man, because, I can't assume, but like in my own thoughts, maybe he thought, man, I can't make millions anymore, or I'm not going to be a superstar, so I'm useless. We've seen it with Colin Kaepernick, right? Mm-hmm. Where you try to speak up and say something, get this Negro off the field, we're going to pay him some hush money, go away. What words of encouragement and advice do you have for black men who are trying to find purpose outside of their black bodies serving white owners?
All right, so peep game. If y'all are watching this right now, I'm gonna look in this camera right here. I want y'all to go follow. I want y'all to go on Instagram and look up Dakota Tyler. DAKATOHTYLER. I think his handle is like D Star Kid or something along those lines. I had him on my podcast. He was a college football player, D1, who got injured. And this brother just got through defending his thesis to be an astrophysicist. So if you watch Deontay Collins, he was like, astrophysicists agree with me. He was talking about
TikTok.
He was talking about I was like, he looked dead at the camera and looked right at Dakota Tyler. That's hard. We had a conversation about it. And Dakota, one of the most impactful things that he said to me, he was like, I had to unlearn how I was brainwashed into believing that this was the only thing that I could do that was of value. Right. So when we talk about Black athletes, and I'm not going to get into the whole, analysis or the comparison between Black athleticism and, the owners and slave plantation and all that. We just going to scrap all that. Right. I need for you all to understand that when you are in these spaces of Black athleticism, you have gained a skill set, a soft skill set that can be fungible in other spaces. What you have to do is you have to be willing to actually do the work that it takes to become an expert in something other than what it is that you know, right? Whether it be a physical therapist, whether it be an occupational therapist, whether it be a sports psychologist, it doesn't matter, right? But you have to be willing to understand that the probability of you being in this long term was jilted from the start. I had this conversation with a couple of young boys, and I consistently had this conversation with young boys. And this conversation is a conversation that is consistently had within the space of Black men. The probability of you getting drafted into the NBA or the NFL, even if we were to combine all of the professional sports teams together, it would still be less than 1%. Less than 1%. You are more concerned about somebody else perceiving you as falling off than you consistently putting yourself on. You got to get over that. Got to. Somebody else is always going to be like, oh, weren't you the motherfucker who this and that? I was. That is not who I am any longer. You have to be willing to pivot. You have to be willing to change course. You have to be willing to deal with what is in front of you, what is coming towards you, instead of what is behind you. Because once again, if you played basketball or if you played football, always looking behind you, you would always get shit stolen from you. You would always fumble. You would always be chasing after something instead of being in control of something. Look forward. Look forward.
Powerful conversation, brother. Very last question for you on your shirt. 2 more questions, honestly.
What?
Alabama State, bro.
Yeah.
Talk to me, man, about Alabama State. What did you attending historic, like we talking about one of them ones, HBCUs.
Yeah.
How did that mold you as a Black man, your mind, you being a therapist today? How did those fertile grounds make this happen of the man that we see today?
Man, listen. First of all, the Alabama State University, when we teach class, the world takes notes, right? So I went to here for my undergrad, and I went to FAMU for my grad.
Hey, my brother, he went to FAM, bro. Shout out to the Rattlers.
Yeah, shout out to the Rattlers. What's going on, family? The highest of 7
years. He was in Leon County. Huh?
You feel me? Fuck with me. Yeah. But going to an HBCU, it illustrated what Black excellence looked like to me without it being performative. It illustrated what it means to desire for legacy. It illustrated what it means to be in an environment where somebody cares about your well-being more than they care about your grade performance. It illustrated to me that you can be family with people who come from different parts of the country, the world. It illustrated to me that Black culture is not monolithic. It illustrated to me that Black intelligence creates Black policy. It creates Black solutions. It creates Black implementation. HBCUs were a cornerstone of the civil rights movement everywhere, right? Dr. Martin Luther King, when his house was firebombed in Montgomery, Alabama, he stayed in the basement of Bibb Graves Hall at Alabama State University, right?
I knew that. He just put me on.
The pamphlets for the Montgomery bus boycott were printed on our campus, right? We have to understand that if we genuinely want to see shifts and changes in the Black community, we also have to be willing to mobilize the Black community. HBCUs taught me what Black mobilization looked like, right? And it also taught me that, unfortunately, we can be some of our largest saboteurs, right? At FAMU, they just hire somebody whose they hire somebody as the president whose political associations are dastardly as it relates to the engagement with the Black community. When I was at Alabama State University myself, we had to protest because the Board of Trustees was doing wild shit, right? Howard University, they were protesting what was going on in Palestine, and something happened where the police were called on students of the university. There are ways in which the HBCU experience illustrates both the best and worst parts of being in Black community, right? Whether it be at times the rampant homophobia, whether it be at times the crippling traditionalism, whether it be a number of different things, right? But once again, we cannot solve the problems in the world if we are not willing to face the problems in our community. And that's the bottom line, right? It is our job to protect our community. It is our responsibility to protect our community. We cannot lead if we do not self-master, and we do not self-master if we do not engage in emotional intelligence. But we cannot engage in emotional intelligence if we do not engage in vulnerability. And what I usually say to Black men is the same thing that I said in my Express Yourself Black Man spaces. And the question that I usually ask, and the thing that I say is the question that I usually ask, which is, why is it that we as Black men are less afraid to take up physical space than we are emotional space? We are more willing to risk our lives to perform masculinity than we are to risk our egos and our manliness in order to assert our humanity. It is a skill that you must practice, right? You do not come out the pussy performing masculinity. Somebody shamed, guilted, or beat you into it, right? It's a learned behavior. You can learn to be emotionally intelligent. You can learn to be vulnerable. You can learn to have emotional discernment, but you have to remove this idea from yourself that these things are inherently feminine, and you have to remove the idea from yourself that femininity is inherently beneath masculinity. That is a European construct. It is not African.
Hey, man, Professor Odie, brother, I appreciate you, man, so much for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, this conversation has so much substance. On the way out, where can everybody follow you? Express Yourself Black Man, get in touch with you. Therapy sessions, all that good stuff.
Oh, 1000%, man. Hey, if you don't follow me at Professor.Odie, Professor_Odie. Either way, you gonna find me, you feel what I'm saying? My podcast, The Antidote, is coming back June 19th. I had to hop off the mic for a little bit.
Right around Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. Juneteenth. Yeah, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah, brother. Liberation. You feel what I'm saying? I'm coming back to the mic, bro. It's been a long time coming, so you can follow me on YouTube at Professor_Odie, or just type in The Antidote, THA Antidote, and you will find me. And you can find me on any one of these other podcasts, the 3 Milli podcast. You can find me on the Express Yourself Black Man podcast. You can find me anywhere that your favorite podcast is at, because 9 times out of 10, your favorite podcaster is my favorite podcaster, and I'm one of your podcaster's favorite hosts. So find me wherever you at.
Bro, I had a blast, man. Keep doing God's work. You are doing amazing things. I'm seeing you as a Black man, being yourself, having locks, having earrings, things that we were told you don't look professional. You are a professional, being professional in these spaces, which then encourages other young Black men. I can truly be myself. So, man, I salute you. Keep doing great work. You are always welcome back to the platform anytime, man. That you in the city, you already know. But, bro, thank you again, man.
I appreciate you for having me, brother. And thank you for taking the risk, brother. Thank you for putting together this platform, and thank you for having conversations that deviate from what it is that we as Black men believe that we are supposed to be talking about into something that we are actually supposed to be talking about. I appreciate you, my G.
Much love, man. Y'all, thank y'all so much for always tuning in, showing love. You already know what to do. Y'all got to go spam Professor Odie, show him love. Black men especially, this was for y'all. We can't take care of our women, our children, if we don't take care of ourselves first. So, man, tap in with them. Express yourself, Black man, rather. Tap in with them on that standpoint. Contact Professor Odie for all your needs, bro, because we got to take care of our minds. If we go into the gym, we hooping, doing all this other stuff, we got to take care of our brains, our minds, our hearts, our emotions. So thank y'all for always tuning in. Blessed be your host, Caleb Smith. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.